In this episode of Ricky Remembers grade 5 Intramuros at the Ateneo grade school in the year 1987 to 1988. But before we get to today's episode, I want to encourage everyone again to support our fundraising efforts for this year's alumni homecoming, Ignatian 94. We're having a concert with Parokya ni Edgar this October 22 at the Music Museum in Green Hills, and we're also having a raffle. We're raffling away a Hyundai Kona, a Vespa scooter, a Specialized bike, and some shoes from Colehan and some clothes from Nautica. And also we're selling a Seiko batch watch. We had one which had the blue face, just like this one, blue face, but that ran out already. That sold out pretty quickly, but we still have some of the white-faced ones. So go ahead and check that out. And if you want to inquire about it, just send me a message or send Mark Bernal, who's also an admin in this page and who's our chairman for this year's alumni homecoming, a message and we'll hook you up. And also you might want to avail of our shirt as well, or this year's shirt. Just send a message to any one of us. Please support our fundraising efforts for this year's alumni homecoming, December 7 at the Ateneo High School covered courts. I will be there. I will fly out from California to the Philippines to join everyone. This is actually the first time I'm gonna join the alumni homecoming. I've never gone to any alumni homecoming parties before, and because it's our 25th year or 25 years outside of high school, I have to be there. So Ricky Remembers grade 5 Intramuros at the Ateneo grade school from 1987 to 1988. It's funny. So I'm in grade 5 already, right? So this is the third to the last episode. There will only be 2 more episodes after this one. So make sure you tune in to the last 2. And thank you for following the series so far. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing to the channel, and thank you for sharing and commenting. It's funny, you know, as I do these episodes or do these reminiscing videos, sometimes you think, may nanonood ba? Or is somebody watching? Or do people even care? And then when you feel like giving up, somebody sends you a comment on Facebook. Like for example, Mr. Ben P. Atilano, who's my batchmate, who'll also be there in the alumni homecoming, sent me a message saying he's very impressed with my memory and made a comment about the grade 3 episode. And then also Mr. Rafi Maceda, who's also my batchmate, sent a message or commented about Mr. Gel Sendania's father being the Minister of Information and not Finance, as I incorrectly stated in the grade 3 episode. Also, Mr. Benito Chua commented about our math teacher in grade 3, Miss Goko, exchanging Archie Double Digest comics with the students, which I didn't know, so which makes her even more cool. So thank you for those comments, guys. So thank you for assuring me that you are watching and that you're paying attention. So let's get to it. Ricky Remembers grade 5 Intramuros at the Ateneo grade school from 1987 to 1988. This is gonna be a lengthy episode because I remember a lot from that particular year. It was a very special year, I think, and it was I think an extra special year because of our teacher. Our teacher was the legendary Mr. Bob Acot. Mr. Bob Acot. This episode is for you, sir. Mr. Bob Acot was, can we say notorious or infamous, but he's legendary because he was quite possibly, the coolest teacher any Ateneo grade schooler could have. And we heard of his reputation already even when we were in grade 4. Because he was the teacher. He was very young back then. He was probably in his early 20s, if not mid 20s. His hair was dyed, so it was brown. So it was very, he had the nice hair. He had the long bangs, but more importantly, he had the buntot at the back. Nauso noon yung may buntot sa likod. And yung buntot sa hair niya was not just any ordinary buntot. It was a buntot pero parang fishtail So it dovetailed like that. And then may kulay rin yung buntot. So, and then he dressed really fashionably, really trendily. So cool siya magdamit, you know. He would wear these nice shirts, long sleeve shirts. He would wear these ties. Yung nalala ko pa with Mr. Akot, yung necktie niya, the first time I saw it, na may pin, yung may safety pin dito sa dulo. And then he would wear these pants, these really baggy pants na may konting shine ng konti with them, but they were patterned, they had these patterns. So very cool guy, fashionably, galing magdamit. So, you know, he looked very cool. He didn't look like your conservative regular teacher. So we all looked up to him because of that. And also, he was a singer. He was a performer. He was with the company during that time. So showbiz pa siya. Not only was he a cool teacher, he was showbiz. He was a singer, and sometimes we would see him on TV, either sa Penthouse Live or sa Martin After Dark. He would, you know, he would be there with the company. They would sing on TV. So very impressive, you know, showbiz and cool. But more than all of that, he was a very good and very effective teacher. I remember he was our teacher in science and in reading, and he had this way of making notes or putting notes on the blackboard. First, he would put it in bold, so bold letters, and then yung definition ng term na yon, which made science easier to learn. Until now, I use that tactic, or I utilize that technique when I'm making notes at work, which I picked up from Mr. Bob Akot. So sir, thank you for that. Thank you for being organized and very methodical with how you taught your students. I remember that. Basta bold and then yung definition. So it was very clear, very organized. So he was a very effective teacher and a very effective communicator. I remember during grade 5, we had to do a presentation for our parents. So we had to do these dance numbers for our parents. But before he let us rehearse and do our thing, I remember this. He gathered all of us. This was a weekend. So he gathered all of us at the workroom, yung sa baba. Sa baba yun ng grade 5 wing, eh. Di ba may stairs pababa, yung isa doon yung art room, pero after that yung open air na work ed area. We all sat there and he gave us like a pep talk, an inspirational talk, saying how much work we should put into this presentation, because we need to thank our parents and we need to show them our gratitude through the dance numbers that we were going to do. So, sir, I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that very heartfelt, inspirational talk that you gave us, and we gave it our all after that because of that talk that you did. So thanks, Mr. Bob Akot. Grade 5 Intramuros is also very memorable for me because this is where I met lifelong friends, some best friends that I made. Mr. Gab Agkawili being one of them. Mr. Gabriel Chiki, who's of course famously known as the bassist or one of the founding members of Parokya ni Edgar, who's having a concert on October 22. Plug ko lang ulit. So Gab Agkawili, Gab Chiki, and Dennis Caparos. Si Dennis Caparos is also based here in LA now, and Gab Agkawili is based in NorCal, in the Bay Area naman. And then also Mr. Brian Braga. I talked about Brian Braga in grade 3. Brian Braga is also here in the States already. He's based in Las Vegas. Every time I'm there, I try to meet up with him. Mr. Carl Odulio and also Mr. Raymond Soriano. Mga naging kaklase ko, mga naging barkada ko sa grade 5 Intramuros. I remember very well and very fondly overnight stays sa bahay ni Gab Agkawili. So kami yan, ako, si Gab, si Chiki, si Caparos, saka si Braga would hang out would sleep overnight sa bahay ni Gab Agkawili, and we got into some crazy shenanigans. One of which was, nauso yung paipo nung time na yan. Yung paipo, yung parang artificial cigarettes. So we spent the night smoking these artificial cigarettes. Or they were nicotine alternatives. And we promptly got sick the next day because we're not supposed to do that. So, but that was fun and that was memorable. So overnight stays with Gabag Kawili or in Gabag Kawili's house, and then he'll treat us for lunch or merienda at the Club Filipino. Sometimes we would go swimming there as well. So very memorable. Gab, I know you remember this. I'll see you on December 7, pare. And we'll have a good time. Also, I remember other classmates, Francis Mercado, Paulo Ordoveza, Bambam Quiazon, and Ramram Martinez, because this was the group in grade 5 Intramuros with whom I played PC games with or exchanged notes with when it came to PC games. Mahilig kami dun sa Sierra Online games nung grade 5, and we got into King's Quest, Police Quest, Space Quest, and Black Cauldron, all these Sierra Online games. And every recess or lunch, we would exchange notes. We were the computer nerds or the PC nerds. So that was my other group. Sina Murky, si Ordo, si Bambam, tsaka si Ramram. Also, during this year, we had two memorable teachers, si Mr. Badwa, who was our teacher in math, and Mr. Santos, who was our teacher in English, or language, sorry, was our teacher in language, and a big part of language was vocabulary. And he would always say, enthusiasm. So that's where I learned enunciation, or how important enunciation is when it comes to the English language. So I'll always remember Mr. Santos for that. And si Mr. Badwa naman, what I remember about him, every time siya magagalit, he would use the chalk as a parang analogy niya yun eh. Lagi niyang sinasabi, alam nyo, tong chalk na to, pag itinago ko dyan sa cabinet, if you're not paying attention, hindi nyo malalaman kung saan ko tinago tong chalk na to. Kasi nga, sometimes we wouldn't pay attention, right? We'd be talking, we'd be looking outside the window, and naiinis siya minsan kasi it looks like, or it seems like we weren't paying attention, and magsisermon na yan about his chalk, and pag tinago niya yung chalk, hindi namin malalaman kung saan niya tinago kasi nga we weren't listening or paying attention. So that's Mr. Badwa and Mr. Santos. I also remember having as my classmate Mr. Tony Vic Gonzalez, who's a very successful doctor now here in the States. Si Tony Vic, parang rival ko yan or competitor ko when it came to grades. I was very grade conscious as a student, and we would have these long tests or these quizzes, and magkikita kami, magtitinginan kami niya ni Tony Vic, magsishake hands pa kami niyan eh. Kasi papataasan kami ng score dun sa quiz or dun sa long test. And every now and then, I would win, sometimes he would win. But we had this friendly competition during grade 5 wherein pataasan kami ng score doon sa test or sa long test or sa quiz. So Tony Vic, I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that well. But my most memorable classmate ng grade 5 was my first cousin, Carlo Diaz. Can you imagine that? Magpinsang buo, magkaklase. So that was very memorable because I had my cousin with me in the same classroom for 1 year. And I remember this very well. Si Carlo Diaz kasi magaling mag-basketball yan. So nag-varsity pa yan nung high school. Magaling mag-basket yan. So nung grade 5 pa lang, team D na yan sa Intrams. One time, Intrams nakalimutan niya yung sapatos niya. He didn't have his rubber shoes with him, so he had to borrow mine. And of course, because he's my first cousin, okay lang. If it was any other classmate, hindi ko pahihiramin yun. Sapatos yun, and that's very personal and very intimate. But because it was my first cousin, I lent him my LA gear. LA gear pa yung sapatos ko noon. Hindi talaga siya pang basketball, pang aerobics nga yun eh. But I lent him my LA gear so that he can play for Team D and so that 5 Intramuros would win. Speaking of intramurals, grade 5 Intramuros was also the time of the legendary showdown or shouting match between Mr. Bob Acot and the other infamous and notorious grade 5 teacher, Mr. Mortel. Oh my God. It was a softball match between, ano ba si Mortel? Pugad Lawin or Pasong Tirad? One of the other sections. Si Mr. Mortel yung teacher. So of course, siya yung coach during the softball game. Parang natatalo kami or something, biglang dumating si Bob Acot, si Mr. Acot. Naalala ko pa, nakabukas yung shirt niya, usually naka-button down na may tie, di ba? So I guess tapos na yung class or tapos na yung day. So he went down to the softball field without his tie and his shirt open. And then nagsisigaw na siya doon. Nagsigawan na sila ni Mortel over officiating or basta nagka-anuhan sila, nagka-alaskahan, basta nagkasigawan. And I think the only other person who might remember this is Mr. Paulo Tatad. Paulo, if you're watching this, you know this happened, right? Because I remember you were the umpire during that softball game. And I hope you remember this because I don't want to be the only one who remembers it. Basta nag-shouting match, nagsindakan si Akot tsaka si Mortel. Kulang na lang magsuntukan. That would have been something. So that was another memory that's seared into my brain. And also, sa tapat ng grade 5, andito na yung nagki-criss-cross yung basketball courts. Not only were they tabi-tabi, magka-criss-cross. So isang basketball court, tapos may dalawa pang basketball court na nakaganon. So mas mahirap, lalo, di ba sabay-sabay tayo nagba-basketball. Mas mahirap kasi merong patakbo lengthwise, may patakbo crosswise. But we were able to manage it, and we were able to play still during recess and lunch, those crazy basketball games that we had during our breaks. And also I remember grade 5 for the difficult and challenging work ed projects. Parang humirap na yung mga work ed project. So I remember Mr. Abawag, nalala nyo yung work ed project na popsicle sticks, tapos yung metal tapping, which was one of my favorite projects. So there was the metal tapping, yung owl ba yun, nadidikitan mo nung maliliit na shells and you make a bird out of it, and then may mata. And then there was one yung basket na, yung woven basket. You had to use a coping saw or something where you had to saw na pabilog, which was hard. You had to buy a coping saw. And then yung wallet or pencil case na tatahiin mo. Red and yellow yun na leatherette. Tapos tatahiin mo with black nylon. So I remember those difficult work ed projects, but very, very fun, very engaging. And then also art class, I remember Mr. Gaudines, who apparently was this accomplished painter, was our art teacher. And also, of course, who can forget or who can't remember Mr. Areza, Mr. Godofredo Areza, and music class. I remember sa music class, hirap na hirap tayo to write on our music notebook kasi kailangan dun tayo magsulat sa may scale. So, hindi siya normal notebook. Yung workbook ng music, pilit tayo na we had to write on those small lines kung saan yung notes sinusulat. I remember learning about sforzando, allegro, mga ganyan. Kumbaga yung tempo ng music. So, Mr. Areza, thank you for that. And Mr. Gaudines for those art projects as well. And I remember, was it grade 5 already or even grade 4 pa lang, na pwede na tayong mag-casual during Wednesdays. So one day of the week, you can dress up, right? Or you don't have to wear your uniform. I don't know if it was grade 4 and grade 5 or grade 5 lang or grade 6. Basta I remember one time I came into school, galing lang yung mom ko sa States, so she brought me some really cool clothes, some very trendy clothes, and I wore it. And Mr. Bob Akot noticed it, and sabi niya, mukha kang Esprit Kids with your outfit, Esprit Kids. And tumatak sa utak ko yun. I've always remembered it because somebody who dressed fashionably noticed that I was wearing cool clothes already also. So after nun, I became very conscious about dressing ng cool. And then also pala, I will end with this. This was the year when nauso yung spike na buhok. So, just like Bob Akot, nagsispray net kami sa buhok ni Gab Agkawili. Gab knows this. So, nakaspike yung buhok namin. And then, nauso kasi ito yung time na nagra-rap si Francis Magalona sa Loveliness, sa Channel 13. So, yung buhok niya ganun din, nakaspike, parang flat top na nakaspike, may mahabang bangs. But more than that, yung sinishave yung dito, yung sa corner ng ulo. So, ginaya namin ni Gab, sinave din namin yung buhok namin dito para gayahin si Francis Magalona, pero also para to impress Bob Akot kasi we wanted him to see na cool din yung buhok namin, and then cool din kami mag-BS. Gab, you remember this, diba? Nung nagpaahit tayo dito, sa kanto ng noo, which affected my hair until now. Yung tubo ng hair ko dito was never the same after doing that crazy shave in the corners of our forehead. So that's our episode of Ricky Remembers for today. Ricky remembers grade 5 Intramuros circa 1987 to 1988. Again, this is the third to the last episode. There will be 2 more after this. So don't forget to like or to comment here on YouTube and to share the video, and most importantly, to subscribe and to click the notification bell. I need 1,000 subscribers, and right now I think I'm at 115. Malayo pa, but please, Ateneo batchmates, Ateneo schoolmates, Ateneo alumni, please help me get to 1,000 subscribers by clicking on the subscribe button below. Again, I'd like to encourage everyone to support our efforts or our fundraising efforts for this year's alumni homecoming at the Ateneo High School covered courts this December 7. Please buy our t-shirt or buy our shirt, Ignatian 94, and then we're having a concert again with Parokya ni Edgar on October 22 at the Music Museum in Green Hills. We're raffling off a Hyundai Kona, a Vespa scooter, and a Specialized mountain bike, and also some shoes from Colehan and some clothes from Nautica. Approach or message any one of my batchmates or myself for raffle tickets. Raffle tickets are at 500 pesos each. Please, all of this goes to our brothers and sisters in Tulong Dunong, and also for our event this December 7, Alumni Homecoming. This has been Ricky Baizas for Ricky Remembers. Thanks again for tuning in. Peace, love, courage. Bye.